And therefore, has the what I would call the identity of what we call as Hindustan. I don't say Hindu, because non-Hindus can also be people of this country who identify themselves. If the Muslim population tomorrow says that all our ancestors are Hindus, then they become Hindustanis. And it is true, because I've done DNA testing and I've read the research work on DNA, and shows that Muslims and Hindus have the same DNA, which means they're all converted at some stage. So why, just because they're converted, they should change their culture? This fight against Ram Mandir, today what happened and what the press reports may be different. So let me tell you what really happened. When I went to the court, all the other Muslim petitioners, they came and screamed that, I had come without informing them in the last, the 2 Fridays ago, and, got the Chief Justice to say that he is ready to have this negotiated and he himself is ready to play a role. They said he is not a party in our petition. So the Chief Justice asked me, they say like this, what do you have to say? I said, of course I am not a party in the dispute that they are today before the Supreme Court. What is their dispute? That this is my property. The Muslim people say that for 500 years this has been our property. They admit that it was originally Hindu property, but Babur came and conquered it, so by adverse possession, it is our property. And what do the Hindu parties say? Who are the Hindu parties? Vishnu Parishad? No, it's not a party. RSS? No, it's not a party. The party is a Akhada, Nirmoyi Akhada. And another party is the Ram Lala Samiti. Both of them claim this is our property, and we were administrating the temple earlier. So I said, I don't want to have any part of that. I filed a separate petition, and that was that I have a fundamental right to worship in Ram temple. You'll be surprised to know that one of the mischiefs Narasimha Rao did. Narasimha Rao, when the masjid was demolished, his party demanded, it was demolished on what? On the 6th of December, 1992. Narasimha Rao was then immediately being pressured by his party colleagues, and at that time I was holding a minister rank position on the GATT issue, on the GATT commission with Narasimha Rao. And Narasimha Rao and I used to meet every day and used to tell me what was going on. And he was being pressured to dismiss all the 4 BJP ruled states, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, and Bihar. So they wanted that dismissal to be done and president's rule to be imposed. He, of course, as usual, was very expert in buying time, and he did not do till the 7th of January 1993. That is almost more than a month after the demolition. And he told me why. I asked him, why are you delaying? He said, let these RSS people build a temple there, no matter how makeshift it is, and let it be there. And so on the demolished masjid, a makeshift temple was built, where puja is going on, archana is going on. They don't have murtis, they have photographs, which were originally inside the Babri Masjid. And they were put in there in 1949. I mean, they say God put it there, but the police FIR says that it was put together by people jumping over the wall in the night. So that temple puja is going on since January 7th, 1993. In 1994, the Supreme Court, there was a constitutional bench headed by Venkatachalaya, And they considered this question, what to do about it. So therefore, there were 4 suits, 2 of the Muslims, 2 of the Hindus. He combined them together, gave it to the Allahabad High Court. They took them out of the Sessions Court and put it in the High Court and said, decide this. So the Allahabad High Court got the 4 title suits to be decided. It was not whether Ram temple was there or not there, whether the masjid was there or not there, none of that. Whether this site of land belongs to Nirmori Akhada and the Ram Lala Samiti, or it belongs to the Sunni Waqf Board and one other Jamaat-e-Islami. So these 4 were combined and given to the Allahabad High Court. Then the question raised by the Muslim parties is, there is a temple there, puja is already going on, so you have to say something on that. Now, this constitutional bench judgment says that yes, there is a temple going on, and there is a question whether there in its place there should be a masjid or not. This paragraph 82 of the judgment. But we hold, the Supreme Court Constitutional Bench says we hold that a mosque is not an essential part of Islamic religion. Now what does that mean? That you don't need a mosque to read namaz. So they allowed the temple to continue. And the temple is every day doing. Of course, there are a lot of restrictions. There will be no further improvement, and there will be very strict security, etc. There will be nothing else will be added. So the UP government afterwards, and the BJP government after that never came till now. They had put all kinds of restrictions. There will be no shoe rack, there will be no water, there will be no lavatory, there will be no parking lot. If you want to come, come. Still lakhs and lakhs of people come and deposit 100 rupees as fees, and UP government has got 340 crores as deposits today of the Ramlala temple. Now, I went there, I found I had to carry my own chappal. So I went back and filed. That's how I first filed it, saying that you may have any proceedings you want, but I have a right to hygiene. I have a right to have, to be able to worship without any obstacle, and at least to perform the religious rites. So the Allahabad High Court upheld that and said, build a parking lot, build a chapel rack and all that sort of stuff. And then some party came to Supreme Court and got a stay. I tried to vacate the stay. That is the time they said, why don't you argue? You know so much about this subject. Why don't you argue the main matter? We will transfer your writ petition along with these suit appeals, and you can argue. And therefore, although I am not a party, I am still a person who has to be listened to for the argument on fundamental rights. Now, my fundamental right to worship is provided by Article 25 of the Constitution. And the article also says that your fundamental right is subject to morality, health, and order, public order. You can place restrictions on my fundamental rights only on these 3 grounds. And you can also challenge that you're not being given your fundamental right because there is immorality going on, or your public health, or the health is being affected, or that there's public disorder. So I went and said, if I don't have toilets, if I don't have drinking water, and I have to walk 2.5 kilometers in the hot sun through dust, then it affects my health. So therefore, you have to make amendments, give me direct that the UP government builds all these facilities. And if you build facilities, they become permanent. So therefore, the idea was, let's hear the whole matter. And I went and appeared, and the court took a stand that yes, we would like to, we very much want this resolution, but why don't you try? Why don't you try a compromise? I had, during Chandrasekhar's time, as law minister, I had assisted the process of a compromise and extracted a promise from the Babri Masjid Action Committee, Sree Shahabuddin, who was a good friend of mine also, that if there was a pre-existing temple, then we will give up the claim to Babri Masjid. And that is recorded in the white paper. But then after that, Chandrasekhar's government fell, and then Narasimha Rao's government came, and then this demolition took place. And you'll be surprised that when the Supreme Court asked the Narasimha Rao government, what is your solution to this problem? The Solicitor General filed an affidavit in which he said, if there was a pre-existing temple, then we will hand over the whole area to the Hindus to build a temple again. So that is a commitment of the government. So I tell Narendra Modi, you are committed. Because what happened is the Supreme Court gave Allahabad High Court a direction, find out whether there was a temple. So the Allahabad High Court asked the Archaeological Survey of India to give two names. So two names were given, B.B. Lal and one Keralite called K. Muhammad. Both archaeologists, and they have worked on it by the most modern methods, including satellite imaging and so on. And finally came to the conclusion that even today there is a huge Hindu temple there, Vaishnava temple, below the Babri Masjid, where the Babri Masjid stood, and that many of its pillars and all were used in the Babri Masjid structure. They built a tomb with the Babri Masjid structure. So now we have to give them, they have made a commitment. Now the court has said yes. So therefore the structure which existed in its place, now we should be allowed to build a temple. Now question then, what about the Muslims? Now I don't know why we Hindus have this habit of saying, what about the other side? I don't, but Muslims never bother about this. You go and ask them in Saudi Arabia, do you want to build a temple? They'll put you in jail right away. In Pakistan, they demolish temples. In Kashmir, where they are in majority, they have renamed the Shankaracharya Hill as Sulaiman Hill or something like that. So, but what about that? There also, I spoke to the Saudi Arabians, and they said, what are you talking about? Masjid can be demolished. Masjid can be shifted for a public purpose. So I said, can you give an example? He said, no, you go to Google, all the examples are there. And there are a large number of examples of Muslim countries demolishing the masjid. In fact, in Saudi Arabia, they demolished a masjid or a mosque built on the direction of Prophet Muhammad and built a toilet. So the UNESCO protested, saying, at least this masjid you should have left. They said, why? Because Muhammad built it. That means you are teaching us idol worship. We will never agree. In Islam, there is no such thing as an idol as far as deifying is concerned. So therefore, for a Muslim, namaz can be read anywhere. This is what Supreme Court Constitutional Bench also says. Namaz can be read anywhere. And whereas the Hindus, because